To the idiots who haven't understood what the Delft Social Security number was when she was alive, before that girl had her head smashed on a ghost line with sulfur acid and came back as an Indios. It's not only a question of course celebrity, but let's put it this way. The CEOs, in other words, if you check the teachers with white hairs, Martin Snowden, in the UN, in Rome, as a child with platinum hairs, the eyebrows are platinum, like me, in the basements. The ones in Woolwich, it's not only a question of old news on the news and it's getting better or worse. It's already lost. Those bridges are lost, those shut up bridges. If you have a phenomenal child who's Russian and Saudi Mir, if you have a phenomenal child born and raised in the UN in stupid times in Rome, if you have a phenomenal child that is educated and raised in Western Europe, with Woolwich, Greenwich Mean Time, at the age of 15, free college, and she's flying around the world and doing her shit, and the parents are on retirements, 92 and above, genetic ages, in Fresno. And then all those runnings. Now, the flyings would have been beyond the library. What I'm trying to say is that the flyings, the Unheard of Bigfoot, starts beyond the library, the flyings. There's no politician, there's no senator that does all those flyings. They sit on their fat ass and pick up pencils and write checks, or they get checks from others. Then they are puppets. The military is a different institution, but if you're in the intel, raw flyers and space breakers, you're in a different set of people. That's what Jamila was before you smashed her head in on those lines. Now then, the story of 221 with the nails is an old one. What happens is this. Between Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, which is in the lowlands of Poland, the space breaks, the engineers, all that shit. That's La Sapienza University, knowledge. So when they say to you that a child is born into the world in the UN in Western Europe, and she's been to 80 countries and 25 states when her flyings, working elsewhere, and then her parents go on retirement in Fresno. And then there's the runnings, 85 genetic ages above the library, and then her death. In the full knowledge, she's going to go to her death with sulfur acid on those lines. We'd see it from China. So, with all the flyings and all those runnings, and the defense of the parents on retirements in Fresno, meaning for the retarded idiots, old news on the news, from Disneyland, the hanging benches of the Supreme Court in DC and Langley, defending the father and the mother. Your children will never reopen any buildings of mine. The science shit at La Sapienza is not cancer. It's ESA and NASA. It's new mathematics. In other words, the proverbial share, the prophecy of the share of 221 Delft Lowlands already failed. Because your country did what it did on the coastlines, sulfur acid on her head. That would explain the plum has in the UN with the scientists in the basements ever since I had the Asswipe 221 with me. Created your own doom, US. And you're happy about it. Because you're Russian, she's Arab, German aerospace loved it, Brits and the circles of White House with her, scientists. And as for Colin Hills, sure I was defending the Barons. The only problem with you, jackass, is that Eleanor Thompson, who is a geneticist with the white eyebrows, is almost the wife, basically, of Colin Hills. Martin Snowden is the head of sciences. That retard that I knew. You call my friends retards. You call those people with the platinum hairs in the UN and in Woolwich retards in the basements. The heads of schools. That's the scientists, you cheapos, that you killed on the coastlines with the bridges. That's why they brought me back as Disneyland, so you could show your womanliness and manliness, your careers, your racism, and who knows what else, because you're retarded in the US. Maybe you even paid them to be like that with Disneyland. And we already had The Hague with Dirk-Jan van Dam, the Rumpikabessa. You don't get all the blessings on the planet for nothing. She passed through US. Continuing with something that I can't change with the nails around the world's globals, connected those globals, which is all news on the news with a void. You are not the Vatican, US. You're not the Opus Dei. You're not the Muslims. You're not the Russians. You're not the Western Europeans. And I could tell you, little shithead, you're obviously not the Woolwich inner circles. Do you understand that? That's all news on the news. You can go suck the dick of Elon Musk, who moved to frickin' Texas. Because I grew up in South Africa with Elon Musk. Wasn't he the science freak? You can look at your fucking cheap shit in California. He just upped and left. Because that's what you are. On the coastlines. Your own are going to relocate. Fuck! They don't care how many people lose their jobs in California. They'll just leave. You're no space breakers and no science breakers. And those that were like me are on the coastlines lying dead with sulfur acid on their heads. And I'm what they call the relic of that shit. And you still want to attack me for that? With the buildings getting emptier with the platinum has? No wonder the CIA has platinum has with Jamila. You know why? Because you fuck-ups didn't do it yourselves. You big-ass tits. Your PhDs. I have endured things that most people wouldn't believe. In any case, that girl had her head suffered on the coastlines. I come back like this in Indios. They give you a piece of paper to prove 221 Lowlands, Delft, a Church of Delft, the Bilderbergs, and so forth. They're looking at you not only as Nazis and fascists, US, they're looking at you as retards. Then you send your haters to smash their tits on the streets and call me names on my electoral crawlies. No wonder they get me out of there with the carrozzeria, the Calaverdone, to get out of Fresno on the electoral crawlies for the parents. Crawlies and electoral crawlies. You're sick. You lose intel in the US, and then you have pretenses. At the end of the runnings above the libraries, when I defeat a mom's feet hit the head, the top of the library, comes out me, the phoenix. Meaning, after you sulfur acided my head, I came out. They called that girl a phenomenon in Western Europe and around the world. But because you hated me, you tried to bury me alive in the US. Unfortunately, I came back and I connected the dos globals in 80 countries. Of course, celebrity didn't happen only because her head was smashed in on the coastlines, but because of what she had done in Intel. Now, when you meet such children, or Men in Black children or whatever, the original, they have a tendency to either flies or runs, or to, they love their parents to death, obviously, literally, sulfur acid on the coastlines and so forth. I'm actually multitasking. Having said that, that's not what Western Europe was speaking about on BBC, Channel 4, and Messaggero. Scotland film is to stay out of your country. 147 to 221 is all you have in geological rebirth or PINCAS. This one will cease existing in the genetic schools of the UN. PINCAS is out. Your days of showing what woman you are and what men you are to Disneyland are over. They're over. In fact, you've been over US for a long time for that intel with the platinum hats. When they say take what's yours back, even if it's in body bags on the coastlines, they meant it. That was us. Therefore, the bridge in Washington, D.C., July 20, 1976, or 60s and 70s, is my birthday, yeah? has been shut so the yachts can pass by. That's what we call the old archives of the CIA. They've been closed down. That's me. Same with the bridges and corridors, Russia, Wall Internationals with the square hostel with a grey bridge that was completely shut up with the internationals and London villages. Now, NASA was in Warsaw, also, and ESA, and those hostels, various hostels, for those 4 years of tracking of my literal crawlies. You have shown in the US that you don't care for the Hague of Dirk Jan Van Dam. In other words, if somebody has her head sulfur acided, and there are buildings at La Sapienza and around the world, Massachusetts and NASA, space sciences, the new physics are empty, together in La Sapienza and other places, of new mathematics, which was me. Dad with sulfur acid on the coastlines. I am the stand-in child after that. That piece of paper, Delft. Even without the piece of paper, just a face. In 80 countries connected those globals. I did that. I only have 1 for 72 to 1 left of that number in stupid times. So when they say plumbing time, I can't change it. You see, you already killed that intel. Places like Poland also had cancer and things like that. Why? Because if they see that in Western Europe, flyings and runnings, they will think of, it's intel they can see ahead of time. Already knows where it's going. But knowledge doesn't change anything. Knowledge is knowledge. It's more than knowledge, intel, isn't it? I'm not going to go into wisdom beyond ages. Because from pioneer camps beyond the capital cities, that's not even wisdom beyond ages. They should have fucking bombed Fresno for the Barons. So, you're not looking at the losses of intel within the US with that girl. You're not looking at the flyings and she's doing something else elsewhere. You're not 92 and above genetic ages of the parents. You're not looking at the runnings, 85 of that girl. You're just looking at losses. You're going to say to me that you didn't see this shit coming from China. And then you're going to have pretenses to Disneyland as Mademoiselle Innocent. Well, they say, fuck innocent. Grow balls, I don't know, be a bully. Do something. Say something, Disneyland, because, you know, I don't need to say it. I don't need to try to be like you. I was different from you. I was either flying or running and breaking airspace around the world. I was famous for that. When I came back like this, they said I was a genetic graft of that girl without, that's after you had smashed the original girl's head on the coastlines with sulfur acid with a piece of paper Delft, Lowlands, Netherlands. So you are not only disrespecting the Hague that already happened to that girl, you're not disrespecting why she exists. You're just disrespecting America. Shit's empty because she's dead. And those guys joined forces with her in the lowlands and other corporations because they thought she was one of the phenomena and believed in her so much that they have planned heads with her in the UN and Woolwich. And you're jealous of a girl who comes out of the coastlines with her head bashed in, has Disneyland connected those globals. You're fucking retarded, US. You're retarded. They're laughing at you. In Europe, they're not laughing at me. There was jealousy. There was always jealousy of that girl. It would have come with the territory, what she used to do, what she used to be. The only thing I have in common with Jamila is her eyebrows. That's it. I had big eyes. I had a long face. And I had thicker lips. Actually, my lips were a little different. My nose was different. Now I got a Loverdone nose, a potato nose. I had a different nose. My nails were square and long, according to everybody on the planet. I had big hands. Not this. What is that? Fuck, that's not her. So yes, I did do Connect Adult Clubhouse in 80 countries. I'm 50 years old. I'm 50. I don't use any creams or makeup except for lipstick because I'm a bit pale. Very pale. Like a ghost. So I have to pinch my cheeks and put lipstick on. You know, like in the Holocaust. Self-harassed on the ghost lines, US. With comparison at the age of 5. Scott Glanville. Puppies. Shut up bridges around the walls of Plum has. I'm sorry for scaring you, but I'm the relic of that shit. Connect Adult Clubhouse. Coastlines. Sorry for living, and I'm sorry for coming back as Disneyland. Next. There's also the Roman Tribunal for your shit. We knew that you would go crazy for that girl. Because you're not normal girls in the US. You need to have that power. With the angels. So we were stuck in the Roman Tribunal for full measure. The Federal Roman Tribunal of Western Europe. You know, for your extras. Your extras! Green that Ukrainian here and there. That was on paper. Still baby lion. I mean, you know. And not just for the ass wipe. Look at this. The parents are born in pioneer camps beyond the capital cities. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Russia. They're 5 years old. Pioneer sports. They were very fit when they were younger. They didn't have much muscle. They were lean, just like I was as a baby. In fact, even when I was flying some runnings, I was pretty lean. I was on some Ubermensch with a fat ass and big muscle. I don't know. That's not. Anyway, let's not go into that discussion. So, they were born there. They were hired in their countries. They got their PhDs very early. They were already 16 at university. They were like super young. Like, you won't believe how young they were when they were doing their research. Already in their countries and abroad. They were already, in their own countries. Then they got a job. Hired them in DC. UN and USAID. Both of them. And they become, first they were working in the UN for like 25, 30 years. In Africa and other countries. Together. Married, maybe not yet married, getting married, yeah. Then, they were made a permanent base in Rome. They became directorates, D1s. Now, I was born in 1976. Oh, that's a plumbing time with that date. That's a certainty, July 20. And, even with self-arrested, after self-arrested, that girl. Intelligence. And so basically, that girl, what intelligence? And so basically, what happened was, when I was born in 1976, they were already being hired as directorates when I was being born. In other words, I lived with them in Africa, in South Africa, Mozambique, I think till 1981. That's when I moved back to Rome, where I had been born. I was conceived in Saudi Arabia and born inside the Vatican. With every fucking blessing on the planet. Opus Dei, Muslims, Russians, Brits, the whole shit. Together with Laura Quintus and Ali Direct, because they were born in the same hospital as me in these stupid high schools. Now, before I didn't care much for them because, quite frankly, I was running. First, I was flying. So it was 92 and above. And that was the runnings. On the runnings, 85, something else. Woo! How many times? And then there was, of course, this post-sulfur acid on the coastlines. Me. This thingy, ghost child, okay? So don't make another ghost celeb with me by killing me in Frisco, Fresno, the little one. Because it will just show that you know nothing about what the girl did. Or if you do know what she did in California, you're just showing insane jealousy again. Because to kill somebody like that with sulfur acid, and wonder why those guys have Plum has with her mermaid sinking ship and everything else that happened ages ago, the nails around the capital cities, whether Plum has or not. Look at how all the ends are crashing with that girl. Sembra de guardare un boat che andrà a merda. You speak about Manhattan Project of 21st century. I said, that's not the Manhattan Project. Oh, the 21st century. So what I'm saying to you is if you cannot contain your behavior in this country and you're doing crimes that are based on anything, because I'm Jew, I'm this, I'm that, you know, I'm white, I'm this, I got a degree, I'm good inside, like Mother Teresa of Calcutta. There's nothing good about you. None of you have that discipline for the flyings or the runnings. You don't have any discipline. The only discipline you have is in the army or in intel. But you don't have the discipline of the space breakers and the science breakers that I had. You have no discipline. In fact, it's not even called discipline. It's worse. When the world saw those flyings around the world and those runnings of that girl, literal runnings of that girl, and I would say literal, because at the end of that, she knew she was going to have her head smashed in on the coastlines. From fucking China, they could see that. When I came back with the Asswipe 221, the Americans, of course, started calling me names and, oh, she's not with her parents anymore in Fresno. Yeah, they're crawlies. Of course, they had the Carla Verdona and all shit to get me out. In other words, you are not a nation for intel, my kind. That's why those guys and those corporations in the UN and in Woolwich, where the universities were, the professors at Greenwich Mean Time, the professors have white hairs with me, including the cheap shit of the lowlands of Poland, Cancer, and the others. Okay? That's all news on the news. So we were the flyers and the runners. We weren't the professors sitting there. Now, I'm the relic of that shit on the coastlines. And don't call me Bin Laden again. I wish I had been Bin Laden. I fucking bombed Fresno ages ago for the barracks. I didn't. Big mistake of mine. Okay, spaceport. In other words, this is what's going around. It's not a question that I caused this shit called celebrity for me alone. No. I didn't invent this shit. I didn't go begging for shit. You did. In fact, you're begging for being bombed. And Fresno for the barracks. You're begging for it from the entire community. You're literally begging to be bombed in such a cheap horse ass like Fresno. That many flyings, that many runnings, and that many crawlies and literal crawlies of that girl. And my father and my mother have tried to stay out of your fucked up country with a Scotland film ever since I had my head bashed in on the coastlines. We want to stay in Saudi Arabia, in Arabia's, in Turkey, in Russia, in Rome, in the Mediterranean, in the UN, even in Germany, for fuck's sake. In England and London. Why? Because in Germany, German aerospace, they know it. The intelligence in Woolwich, they were not kidding. You were jealous of Basler, that he named his child, that's obituaries of that girl. I was decent with those men on my flyings and runnings. I didn't have time for anything. George wasn't my husband. From New England, New Hampshire. The bands are from New York, California. Stop fucking around. We're not going to start this retarded game for Disneyland again. On microism, which call is crab to crab. You, to me, have already proven how ugly you are. Sending even your whores here. Only a hose. Hose! Literally. I'm not even speaking about bitches and jealous bitches. Them too. This is your problem. You're jealous of a girl who went to genetic freak schools in the UN after you had sulfur acided her head on the coastline of California, 221 Lowlands, Netherlands. Of course I'm post-celebra, and of course the Scotland film. I only have 147 to 221 in Geological River to stay in Rome with the parents on retirement. After that, I'm erased. I don't come back. That's it. That's the blimp of 221. No Jew should come between the Opus Dei and that. No Jew can go against the Opus Dei. And I'll give it to you in Disneyland, considering I'm dead after Supper Mountains with all the blessings. No Jew comes across the Vatican from Western Europe. No Jew. No Israel. That's me. Do you understand what died on the coastlines? Do you understand what those bridges were? Do you know who worked with that girl other than the Germans, the Italians, and the Brits with the Platinum House, and the CIA with the Platinum House? Do you understand that? Bugger off! Beggars! From Disneyland! You terrorists! Including Israel. And don't you fuck with me with your Jewish senators. Because my cousins work in DC and they are defending 25 Jewish senators. Jewish senators. One click from those lawyers and you will not have a job, Mr. Politicos. You're dealing with people who are inside the CIA, much worse than the deep state. You're speaking about guys who broke space records within the CIA, with her, who knew her and worked with her. You're speaking about new shit, and you're speaking about this is old news on the planet. You're not speaking about your little political games and I don't like you because you're not Jewish and you like Israel or not. I'm not playing your fucking games. Nobody is. The line of work of that girl was something else. If you don't like her because you're Hispanic 5X bras or white ass, bitchiness, and you're Jewish people here in California, nobody cares what you like. That shit has been empty with those bridges ever since that girl's head was smashed in on the coastlines with a hole in the wall, and that's all news on the news, even in China. And you called me a beggar and you wanted to make us out of Disneyland a prostitute. I'm glad they stuck in the extras of the Roman Tribunal and made co-celebra of that girl old news on the news. I even does Disneyland because you're not capable even of dealing with this. The basics. You want fabulous intelligence and you splash it on the coastlines. A leader comes out. The Manhattan Project of the 21st century, as you want to call it. You're retarded. And you're bad. And quite frankly, if you enjoy putting down Disneyland, we know ways other than the Roman Tribunal in The Hague and the Bureau de Veritas and asswipe rolled up in one to get you to shut the fuck up. Just for Disney. Getting back to my parents. The only ones I loved on all those flyings beyond the library, all those runnings of that girl above the library, 85, 85, knowing she was going to die at the end of 85, 85, the genetic ages of the parents. And then the Crawleys, little Crawleys of me. My father and my mother were born in pioneer camps beyond the capital cities. They are directorates. You know what a D1 is? Of Osro TCR USAID, Humanitarian Relief Services. They've been to 160, 180 countries and 140 countries dropping aid. If you don't respect work, and you don't respect that, you dream of having my father and my mother as your parents, cheap ass. The reason they have revolutions is because of cheap ass Fresno. Who the fuck is the intelligence of Fresno? Ask anybody on the planet. Ask all those guys on the East Coast. Not only the laptops and the intel. Every motherfucker knows about Fresno. Not to mention the shit abroad. In Rome, London, Warsaw Internationals, Russia, Cairo, Saudi Arabia. It looks like a fucking worse than revolutions. 4 years straight on laptops. Yeah, my fucking royal family doesn't get that, like dad and mom. Sticking to 92 and above. You sick fuck. What do you think I did, like Crucifera on my Disney? On the scrolls and the crowleys for you fucking cheap ass. You're jealous of a fucking clone of that girl. Idiots. You're gonna pay. You're gonna pay to the upfront, to intelligence on the coastlines, with avoided beautiful buildings. You fucking cheap ass back 9/11. You banks are ugly. You think they're beautiful? Banks? What about the shit that is actually beautiful? Let alone the cancer and stuff like that. Yeah, those people are looking at them, fucking retards. Of course we joined forces with you. Those guys in London and Rome and Western Europe are siding with called Celebrity Baby. I share what the plum has is all news on news. Cheap ass. Robots. Won't change that? Don't do what that girl did. And shut your face before you suffer mountain acid head that poor girl. Come back like Disneyland and you're sitting there. Ah, we got the big one. Yeah, and you got the losses. The big ones, not some fucking banks. And no, we don't like the Mossad either. Sorry. You see, within the CIA, I'm not going to explain to you the CIA. I'm not going to explain to you the Russian FSB. I'm not going to explain to you the Saudi Arabs or Turk intel. I'm not going to explain to you the United Nations. I'm not going to explain to you the Woolwichers, the inner circles. I'm just not going to explain it to you in Disneyland. I'm just going to speak to you about the phenomenals that had their head bashed in on the coastlines and the white hats, because that's what I did. And I can give you only the tip of that, probably because I'm envious. That's why they brought me back. That's the real reason they brought this girl back. Yes, the Manhattan Project of the 21st century. That's all news on the news. The problem is, everyone knows. Even the Dar es Salaam neighborhoods know. And they know so much about it that it's scaring me on my crawlies and ledge crawlies. But I cannot do anything about it. If you can change that shit, or the Blam has, you're welcome. Otherwise, I ask you to back off from me, because I've had already a rather stressful life connected those globals with the Blam has and more. And that's not even mentioning the father and the mother on retirements at Fresno. I need to go back to the Supreme Court in Langley and DC, the highest law in the land. Our Quintus and Ali Direct, who I was born and raised in Rome. Why Brussels, the Supreme Court? Why Lara Quintus, the Supreme Court, are both defending the father and the mother to death? All those flyings of that girl, all those runnings of that girl around the world, and flyings, and yeah, still around the world and flyings. The flyings, the runnings, and then they started noticing the runnings. Yes, around the world. And the dead crawlies of the girl. Okay? So do me a favor. You have, as people in the US, who are thinking, or rather jump to conclusions and hate everything you see because you're mentally retarded and I'm better than you, I got a PhD, I'm okay, I'm going to shoot your ass because you're Disney. In other words, what I would like to do is what they want, which is a Scotland film. The Scotland film is 147 to 221 to stay and run for retirement. After that, I'm not reborn in the genetic fix schools. I don't care for blues. You can make 1 million blues out of Jamila. Those would be Western European agencies, UN agencies, other countries. After sulfur acid, technically that doesn't live. It just doesn't live. At least not the original Jamila. So that's what we have as a fairy tale. Okay? And the fairy tale is you've had sulfur mountains, acid. On the ghost lines, you come back as Ubermensch, whatever they call that, and that's it. That's my fairy tale in a blimp in time. My fairy tale is you don't have the same brain as the original. You're not those guys. You connected the dots globals. You went to school, college at 15. The UN had a plan has with the corporations when you're 5. The professors were international. Woolwich's was college for free at 15. A lot of the same corporations were there and others in Woolwich's. The majority I was life sciences and engineering. That's my degree. Life sciences and engineering. That is the name of my studies, the department. Okay? School of Life Sciences and Engineering. That girl is dead. Okay. Now, that's not the parents. Okay? So do me a favor when they say to stay enrolled for retirement and no sacrifice. Okay? Thank you. Jealousy and envy. Unfortunately, they were saying for what they see. They see Fresno for what it is, the intel in Fresno, the agents in Fresno, Tom and Jerry Tarrantals, his buddies, his friends, his wingmen, his girlfriends. That's what they see. And that's what masses saw, even on the crawlies and little crawlies. You understand? They saw the flyings. They saw the runnings that many times of that girl. Too many times. They already knew. Even the people started suspecting. And big time. Especially because that girl was phenomenal. And then you have the Rompigabes on the ghost lines. This one come out, the Venice. They are showing that you don't give a shit about anything in this country. And you don't understand the losses of Intel. You don't understand the Platinum has on the ghost lines. You don't understand why that shit's empty. You don't understand why the shit fell with her mermaid ages ago. You don't even understand kindergarten. Why? Either you're mentally retarded or you're still jealous of a dead baby. Disneyland Indios. Understand what I'm saying? Do you know what an Indios is? After Sulphur Mountains? I can have crab to crabby with Aswad. I can have Ubermensch elsewhere. Even after sulfur acid on the ghost lines. You can have platinum hairs with those guys in the CIAs. The fall of the ship was ages ago, those nails. They could predict it from China. They could see those guys working with that girl and the ship sinking. They could see the Manhattan Project of the 21st century before it fucking happened. From China! With me. Because if you are flying that many times, they won't say a word, 92, 92 and above, beyond the library. But on 85, 85, I wasn't only doing my own shit on the ghost lines, I was defending the parents on 95, 85. All those runnings. Why do I say I? You get what I'm saying. I'm ghosting myself after sulfur acid on the ghost lines. You get what the asswipe 221 is lowlands built up. Huh? Number 12. Smurfs. So you have to understand that you are not the best in that shit. Ugh. And it's the US, yeah? You want new talent. You had the intel, and then you fucking smashed it on the ghost lines, and those guys went, oh. So don't speak to me about 221 asswipe when you don't even know what she did. And you don't want to hear the truth, because you're insanely jealous of a dead baby. That but the Scotland film, you still have 147 to 221 to make that happen. For the father and mother in Fresno, that's their retirements. You see, you have to respect work and you have to respect jobs. Anybody will tell you that on the planet. And you have to respect pioneer camps beyond the capital cities. Pioneers. Beauties. Like, darkness that, and they use their darkness in humanitarian relief services around the world. You see, when I went to Rome, I was not religious. I really wasn't. But in Rome, when the Opus Dei and the Catholics, they just looked at me, and they're Italians, these are not the Polish. Italian men. Ukraine whore this, Ukraine whore that. I said, what's the point? Didn't you go to school and to tell you that you did something big? They say, yeah, but what's the pretenses? They're continuing without you. You continue, connect those globals, nails. And I looked at these Italians and I said, what is this? You crazy? And they literally said to me the truth. The Americans are sheep whores to my face. You understand that? I must have been 45 or something. I looked at them and said, oh, please don't do this. Don't start this, please. I was wanting the intelligence and those and beyonds for the parents. Now, holy patience, my ass. They said, we've had enough. They're just the cheapest assholes we have seen on the face of the planet, even with you. They don't even respect that intel smashed in head, and they can't even look at what? A replacement child Disneyland. Why you come back? Those guys are continuing without you, and those assholes can't handle it. I looked at the Italians and said, what the fuck? And they said, darling, there's phenomenals and phenomenals, but when phenomenal gets her head smashed in on the coastlines and they're celebrating and jumping on that shit on the coastlines, we're taking that shit, it's ours. It's yours and those who worked with you. The rest can scavenge Disneyland or whatever. We will sue them. We'll kill them for that even. Because otherwise you wouldn't have come back. The ones, you see, this is it. There's the ones who do, and then the one who die, and you did shit, and you hate me for what? For living or for dying? I come back as angels. That's not even mentioning a father and mother. Motherfucker, you crazy? I don't know what to say. And you speak about politicians and this and that, and I'm sitting there going, work with your God. I ain't give a shit if you're right wing or left wing. Just fucking do it. And the people who literally, I don't even care. At one stage, I said to the guys, I said, listen, they won't try to make prostitute out of me because they're fucking retards. I said, if they do, I'll be the best prostitute on earth. Italians are like, yeah, Watergate Nixon. I what? Shit, ass Monica later on. I'm looking at them, yeah. So then, oh lordy, I was going to say that. So you don't see why I came back, is it? Yeah. So it's not a question only of known. Famous for her stuff, not famous for coastline, self-harassed holes on yours. But it's not my fucking problem that they're still dealing with that shit and they have plant mass and they're weeding out the shit. That's your fucking problem on the coastline. Holy Grail. You knew that shit was gonna happen. You knew that shit, mermaid. You knew that shit coming like free trade. You knew that shit. From China, you could see this shit. All over Western Europe and Russia and Arabia and the UN. And Woolwich's. You could see it on 85, 85. They goes running for the father, mother, parents, with the hang benches. I think I'm going down the coastline. What the shit I'm doing? And what happened? Exactly happened that. I got self-harassed on the coastlines. Come back like this and you say to me, well, fuck you, bitch. US, they made a comedy out of this at some stage. I mean, they literally made a comedy out of this in your child. They're looking at you, the entire community, and I have absolutely no clue what the fuck they're going to do in Fresno for the parents. As for the coastlines and the rest, that already has planted my hairs and fella long ago shipped that down the whole shit with the white hairs in the basements around the world's globals. Go change that shit. That's a concept that you fucking wanted? Seriously? That's no fucking bags that you reopen. You cheap ass. I have never seen such disgusting people in my life. That the CIA or intelligence, Western European, UN, Woolwich's, Italians, Russians, Arabs, Saudis, had to bring back Mademoiselle Angels Disney to make you feel like woman and man. Careerists, the best of the best. I've never seen anything like that happen on this planet. I swipe 221. I'm missing them. They're saying to me, I'm better than you. I'm like looking at you're fucking kidding me. Okay. So don't waste time of intelligence, that many times, with all those flyings, all those runnings, and all those little crawlies of that girl. Crawlies and then little crawlies of that girl. For your cheap asses. You will lose with that kind. We already know that with the nails all over the world's capital cities, globals, Rome, Italy, Woolwich's and the circles and others. And the hanging benches of Lara Quintas and Nadia Erect. You will lose a la grande. And as for Fresno, I can tell you the intelligence of Fresno is not the intelligence they claim. Tom and Jerry Darrett House, his buddies, his girlfriends, his connections, his wingmen, his girlfriends, the hospital with the big-ass tit nurses, 5X bra, local girls, puppy dicks, Pride Blackwater, born and raised in Fresno. For him, yeah, it's not like other countries. They are still lying till today, from my crawlies to my literal crawlies, about who they are in Fresno. The intelligence, the fame of Fresno around the world. Within the US, they're blaming you for all of this. They're saying, why didn't you space bomb that place? If not, bomb it. I can't change the t-shirts on the Ghost Lines. I can't change anything on the Ghost Lines, East Coast. I can't change this all over the US, Fresno. I can't change this all over the capital cities of London, or Rome, Cairo, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Warsaw Internationals. I can't change that with not only direct rule of law in Brussels, Supreme Court defending the father and mother. I can't change that with Lara Quintas, Supreme Court, in D.C. and Langley defending the father and mother. I can't. But I can change one thing. I can bomb Fresno. I can space bomb Fresno. No loss on that by now. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. You know. Silver Mountains, coastline, silver acid, baby angels, come out like a little phoenix. You see? Connect the dots, bluebells with those guys. And not to mention, for the parents. You're assholes. I have never seen such non-thinking people. You're thinkless. You know when they were speaking about the global zoo for the girl with the cats and dogs and birds and the whole shit connected to those globals for me alone? They weren't fucking kidding. You're a zoo.